Okay. Because I can't add it. What is going on, everybody?
What's going on? Woo! Oh man, we already fired up right now. Gosh.
What was that, a dong?
Yeah, boy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Back in the place to be. It is Community Beacon. Brother drop. Is that a bomb or is that still the gong?
That was the gong, man.
Oh man,
I know the
I'm
gong.
gonna get the, you know how they say Funk Master Flex drops a bomb on it like that. I'm gonna get one of those
Oh
sound effects.
man.
Man. I got a bunch of sound effects. Nah, that ain't it.
That ain't
That's
it.
not the one. That's not the one. People, what is going on? It is Friday. It's 4:00. It's Community Beacon. We are back. We are back in the place to be. The brother is just pushing buttons over there.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. Oh man, there's so much new stuff in this stream yard while I'm thinking about it. Look at that.
There it is.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, let's get to it, guys. I don't know. Shouts out to Chris. Appreciate the like, my brother. Hope all is going well. I see you doing your boxing thing every now and then. I'll see you go on there getting in shape with boxing is a serious sport. I don't know who told anybody about it or whatever, but boxing is a serious sport. If you really want to get in shape, you can get into boxing and it'll get you there. So Martin has a show where he boxed Tommy Hearns. Like it was and so he gets in the ring with Tommy Hearns, and he's playing around, and he's doing his thing, comedic, which it's probably one of the funniest episodes he's had. And I'm like, man, and I was thinking yesterday when I saw it, because I came across it on a clip. I'm like, you know how much stamina you have to have in order to do all the stuff it was that he was doing. But yeah, shouts out to Chris. I know you're doing your boxing thing. And I don't know, brother. It's open office hours. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? We just finished a long series in regards to communication, and we're back
Man,
at it.
giving a shout out to my co-host with the most. It is the number one Palm Beach Mike business mogul. Boom.
In the place to be, man. In the place to be. Anything on your mind?
Oh man.
Anything you kind of were mulling over?
Listen. I was reviewing a Instagram post early this morning. Today, y'all, was not the day for doing. I'm gonna start it off right there. And it was the day for doing at the same time. It was crazy, man. Woke up, headache, feeling a little dehydrated. And I was just like, had to get to the gym. Just gotta go. Got my clothes on, washed up, drank like 2.5 bottles of water. Got my pre-workout when I got to the gym. You hear what I'm saying, Mike? Not before. When I got to the gym, I started sipping on the pre-workout. So y'all out there know that thing didn't hit until I was already knee deep in the workout. I'm talking about this is all body. This is just mind-body relationship. I am pushing through these weights and I have no focus but the focus that I naturally bring to the table. And I'm done. And I met with Zion. I don't know if you know Zion. Shout out to Zion. And he was telling me he's got to go and do like a show on Sunday. So this guy he's jacked, right? He looks good. He's jacked real well. And he was just like, I got to do a show. It's my first show. And he was like, man, I just wanted to, say good morning to you, man. I'm like, man, this ain't my day. He's like, yeah, but you getting it anyway. So it was a very, very positive conversation. I'm like, all right, I just got inspiration. Appreciate you. You know, go around the corner, start picking up some weights and stuff like that and doing this workout. Before I end up seeing Tony. Shout out to Tony. Y'all check out his IG. He wants people to tone in on him. Tony Williams the third. We're just talking. He walks in with his 2 bottles like he always does. Always got 2 bottles. Walks up to me, smiling with this huge beer. Say, "I'm popping bottles," right? And he doesn't drink, but he drinks Perrier, and he brought in 2 bottles today. I'm like, look at you, man. Look at you. And I had the same conversation. He said, "Yeah, man, but you're getting it. You're looking good. You're looking good." And I'm gonna tell y'all, man, it pays to have the right people in your inner and outer circle. Like for me, I don't even have people in my outer circle that I don't want to be there. I hope y'all understand that. I don't have many people in my inner circle, you know, like Mike, you know, my parents. I just want y'all to understand inner circle is inner circle, right? I don't have that many people there. And in the outer circle, there's not many people there either, you know. So there's just not. But it's just nice though when you just, hey, what's going on? And someone gives you that little bit of encouragement. Because it wasn't the day. I pressed through the entire day and some good things happened. Looks like we're gonna be doing some business, Mike. There's a good possibility to be doing some business with David Waring. Shout out to him. You know, definitely appreciate the moves he's making and everything, and to come all the way up here to be with me. But hey, now I'm here with you, brother, and I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. I always am. I never know exactly, especially on shows like this. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I know something is going to spark, and when it does, I'm here for it.
Yeah, awesome, man. And I'm glad you got out to make it. Sometimes just going to the gym, and oftentimes for most people, just getting there, like if you just get up and just make it up in your mind. And I used to say, just walk in, touch the other end of the wall, and if you still ain't feeling it, then just turn around and leave. But oftentimes once you get there, you get on the treadmill or the Stairmaster, and you start to get moving, you start to get there. You're right. Like your mind gets there. Your mind gets there first and your body follows later. And then, allow that pre-workout to kick in like you did midway through. That's like this. That's
forever, like brother. It took forever, man. I was like 22 minutes in, man. I'm like counting like, gee whiz. I got to drink the whole bottle? Oh, my gosh.
So, and then to have the people there that are encouraging you is also adamant to it, right? Like just at the core of it, it's finding your inspiration however it is that you do it. So just the guy popping up and seeing, showing the water bottles, I'm popping bottles in a jokingly fashion, and I'm glad to see you here. Like some people could shrug that off like, yeah, whatever. But when you find these inspirational moments, it's so important to do because life is lifing, right? Like things are going on, and oftentimes what we do is I recall Drake having a verse where he said something like he magnifies the negative because something about the positive, some similar. It was a dope line, but it's essentially that we tend to magnify these negatives, and even in music and songs, like some of the craziest songs have to do with like these possible, we can frame them as negative moments, but they resonate. Like negativity tends to resonate, and we magnify it. So sometimes being intentional about finding wherever you can, and if you get in the practice of it, the practice of just finding these moments, like seeing those 2 guys at the gym. When I go, there are certain people in there, like Adam. Shouts out to Adam. Adam owns Jupiter Donuts. So if you haven't been to Jupiter Donuts, that's like, I'm starting to make that a tradition on my birthdays. Like I go to Jupiter Donuts. And so Adam goes in there. He's like,
you there. I know you got to be there in the morning because they're going to be out by like 11.
Yeah. They don't play. They don't play. So he's at our gym because we go to EOS Fitness. If you see me in there, shout me out. I know I don't look inviting, but sometimes I'm just so focused. I said that before, but either way, Adam's in there and he's like, he'll give me like the little fist pump, right? Or sometimes we'll get into a conversation about just being inspired and motivated. And it's like, okay, like, how you doing? I'm like, man, I haven't woken up yet. He's like, okay. Yeah. I said, but after this, now that we've had this conversation, right? Because he's empowering me, so I want to recognize it. I said, I'll tell him like after this set, I'll be there. He'd be like, yeah, man, we just got to stick to it. All right, get in there. And just these little reframes, this processing, this engagement. A man is not an island, right? I've tried. I'm like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A man is not an island. There's a sense of belonging and there's community involved in all of this stuff because it helps to push you, right? So just that, even helping someone lift weights, right? Like I've been, for whatever reason, people have been asking me to spot them lately in the gym. So I'll go over there and they're like, oh, he just spot me. And you're just giving them that push, but that also, not only is it helping them, it's helping me as well. Right. So it's just like, just finding these times and these moments of how we can engage and choose to inspire ourselves. Something else you said, brother, that was interesting is we talk about this inner and outer circle. Now, I think you're being humble. I think you have more people on the outer circle than you choose to admit, because I know a lot of people who feel and know and understand your presence when you're around. And then you have your inner circle, which I think is important as well. Like we get a chance to choose, and I'm switching ideas, and I'll slow down for a little bit, but we get to pick and choose the people that are in our inner circle that really fill us up, right? The brother said, I'm here, and obviously, and naturally that'd be the truth, because if it wasn't, then we wouldn't meet every Friday at 4:00 to have Community Beacon and our other conversations that we have. And then he talks about his parents as well, who also serve as a motivator. It's important for you to find these people. Be intentional. It's important to be intentional about finding these people in order to fill you up. And your outer circle, just seeing what I would call the God in people, what I would call the good, is to see people who are around you, right? And they may not necessarily be in your inner circle where you're, bearing your soul to them, but just the positiveness of them being around and saying, you know what, I'm not telling this person about my marriage or my my intimate relationship, right? This is neither the time nor the place for it, but I can express to this person, hey man, I'm not feeling that well in the gym, because I know what this person is going to say next is also going to be uplift me, right? It's important to cultivate these relationships with people, no matter what they are, right? Just finding these positive things. So I thought that, brother, that was a dope thing in regards to what you said.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, granted, with the outer circle, there's always going to be more there, because the outer circle is the outer circle. It's everybody outside the inside, right? Listen, man, you said something that made me just think about this. It's like, in order for me to have gotten that little boost of confidence, I mean, I had everything going, Mike. I had Motivation University in my ear, then the dude, I met a couple of the guys that, we just kind of, it's crazy, man. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those Instagram videos and they're like building relationships in the gym, and it starts off, it's just like, and then next thing you know, it's like fist bump. And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, yo, what's up? And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, man, let's go get a smoothie. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of crazy, because gym relationships, because you're on a like plane, it automatically makes you connected. Just because you're on a like plane. You're in the gym, I'm in the gym. I see you once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. In that short period of time, that is considered to be consistency. which means that we have at least one goal. You're trying to get fit, I'm trying to get fit, and those things link up. And it's just crazy because it automatically propels you, if you desire it to, for you to move forward in some type of relationship development, right? And it's like, it's one of those things. So the only way I could have gotten that fist bump, that, hey man, you're in here, hey man, you're doing it, hey man, look at you, that type of thing, is if I'm actually right there. I still have to be there. So it's like there's a point, in the beginning where that type of conversation, some people, many people, I have had that conversation where I was not there, or where I was talking with somebody who needed the encouragement, but they were still at the house. And so you transfer that mindset to going to your religious, your place of worship. You transfer that mindset to having that conversation with your lady. You transfer that mindset to having that conversation with your child. You transfer that mindset to whether or not you show up to work, even though you're feeling down. And it leads me into this point. I got on the phone when I got back. Still ain't feeling it, right? I ain't feeling it. I don't care. I done went through my pre-workout. I done did an awesome workout, burned myself up, muscles burning, nearly twitching, right? So great workout. And I get back, and one of my team, hey, I need to talk with you. Call now. Ring, ring. I get the phone call. Getting on the call ends up being a full-fledged meeting. Everybody jumps in. Bing, 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 bing. So we got all these people on the call. And now we're talking. And while I'm speaking, I'm recognizing what my voice sounds like, what I sound like. I don't sound like what I sound like right now. Like right now, I'm showing more energy than what I had when I was on that call. So I'm like, listen, I know I may sound low in volume, but I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. It's just one of them days. They respond back, yeah, I understand. Get some rest. I said, well, sometimes you got to get rest. And sometimes you just got to tell your body what you're going to do. Sometimes your mind just got to tell your body what it's going to do, and not allow for your body to just rule you. Now, I understand it happens where sometimes the body just like, yo, we doing this, and there's nothing else that we can do about it. But sometimes you just got to tell your body, nope, today we are going to do X. That's what we're going to do. Irregardless of what may come, we are going to do X. And then you have to go and perform X to the best of your capacity. Now, if you are unable to do it because something has come in between you and you truly gave it your all, then you have nothing to be ashamed of. But I am a man of intentionality, right? It's like, I'd rather take the day off because I woke up, I was tired, and I said, nope, I'm not doing it today. And I chose that. My body doesn't get the right to just say, I'm tired. So you know what? Just don't get up. Now, does that happen to me sometimes? It has happened. And I have a lot of grace for myself. A lot of grace for myself, because I'm a work in progress. I'm just building, y'all. Building everything. And it gets exhausting sometimes. And that's the real thing about it, is that it gets exhausting. Building your mind, reading the books, watching the podcast, listening to the books, reading the documents, checking in with your clients. It gets exhausting. Hitting the gym when you're tired, not getting any rest at night because you're working late, not getting any rest in the morning because you're getting up early, taking care of the family, taking care of the business, taking care of whatever type of work you got going on. It gets exhausting. I love it. But the reality of it is that's what happens. You got to be in the environment. When I come into this, especially beforehand. I get here 10 minutes early and Mike's here. Hey man, what's going on? You look like you all right? Yo, man, my day was stressful. Want to talk about it? We may start the show late, but I got to be in there. And so I gave all of those different examples to really just say one thing. You got to be in this life to live it. And whatever you are part of, you got to be in it 100%. Because if you're in it, I guarantee you will reap 100% of the benefits of being in it all the way. All the way. That's the way it happens. You don't jump in the 1 foot baby pool, start splashing, and think somebody's coming to save you. They're going to look at you and laugh. But if you jump in the deep end every single time, somebody's going to say he need help. They're going to come get you because you are all the way in. They know it. You have fully committed. And that's where it's at. Full commitment.
So what I hear is there's a dope lady online. Her name is Raquel, the capacity expert. And it was interesting because Chris and I were talking about her today, and she was saying that a lot of people believe that their capacity is a certain level. But when you start to understand and know yourself, you understand that you have the option to increase your capacity, right? And I would definitely not tell anybody to do anything that is going to eventually drive them over the edge, but you do get a chance to show up, the option to show up, and you do get a option to increase your capacity, meaning going from things that you're comfortable with to kind of increasing that comfort. And however and whatever time it is that you choose to do that, that is definitely it's your journey. It's your journey to have. I would add as well, and this is interesting because, like I said, I was talking with Chris earlier while I was at the gym, though, so I was getting a dope workout in. Probably wasn't as intense as it could have been because I was on the phone with them, but it was important for me to be on the phone. So in between sets, I was really getting a chance to. And I like what you mentioned when you got on the phone with your team, was to understand and to gauge your voice and your response to how they were saying, and noticing how you may have come across, right? Whatever that looked like with your team. And then you were like, okay, and I'm letting you guys know, which this is emotional intelligence. I'm letting you guys know I'm fine. I just don't have this extra, this energetic voice at this point in time. But I'm processing and I'm being present with everything it is that you said. So that was kind of like me at the gym with Chris. And also, which was dope, was that I was able to kind of listen to him. And instead of my first thought, right, I was like, oh, don't say that. Let's walk through this process together, because we were discussing some super, super complex processes that involved, triggers, right? So I'm keenly aware to where, if I say this word, the kind of conversation we were having was like, if I say this word, I'm going to trigger something to where a person goes into this autonomous mode where it's like, oh, I'm just reacting from my indoctrination. So I'm having to carefully figure out, and it wasn't even really what I was telling him, although sometimes, because he's a younger cousin, right? Chris and I were born on the same day. He's 4 years younger than me. I kind of hung out with his older brother, growing up. So he was always thought of as the younger brother to all of us, right? So sometimes I get into this point where I feel like I'm the older brother and I'm telling them something. So I was like, no, we got to walk through this process. and really for me to understand the process. So it was really about the questions that I was asking. And so a part of it was, I brought up this thing about where I'm at right now in regards to life is not necessarily having to push myself to do certain things. Like I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And I don't necessarily need to use willpower and discipline in order to do it. I do, like most people, I do have it as a tool or a strategy. Like, okay, it's going to take me willpower to do this. It's going to take me discipline to do this. But I would rather, at the place that I'm at in life, is I would rather deal with stillness than actually pushing forward. And then I found that when I am still, that I'm taking leaps forward as opposed to having to myself through certain situations. And so just like even in the gym, if you look at certain bodybuilders, especially the ones that were great in their times, I'm talking about not Arnold, because Arnold going to tell you to go go to the gym 6 days a week, 2 times a day, but also you got to take it into context during prep time. So as I'm getting ready for this event, which has a date and a time, I know that I want to get to a certain place. So it's less of you're going to incorporate discipline and willpower during this time. However, because it's clear on your goal and the vision that you have. So you got to pay attention to that. Similar to Ronnie. Ronnie's going to tell you the same thing, that this is what he did. And most oftentimes they're talking about is their prep time. These are people who are looking to get to an unhealthy amount of body fat, 5-6%. Ronnie would tell you he was like at 1%, which I might believe him. If you check out Ronnie Coleman and the work that he did, I might believe him. But then after that, when he took time off, he said, I didn't go to the gym for a month to 2 months to get my body back regulated. And then when I went into the gym, once again, if you look at Ronnie Coleman, this guy was close to 275, 300 pound, probably 275, phenomenon, lifting crazy weight. He says that when I got back to the gym, I would do bench press 135 for like a month straight. So if you have lack of clarity, you have lack of, and you don't have a necessarily goal and vision on what you're going to do, you can tend to use some of these things, willpower and discipline, to the point of exhaustion, to the point of where people have times when they where I always tell people, either you're going to sit yourself down or God going to sit you down. And when God sits you down, there's nothing that you can do about it. Sometimes you just sit and you might just look in the dark and just be like, man, or you just laying in the bed and be like, you just don't have it to get out, because your body only has a certain amount of energy. So I would just say for most people, and this is my information I would give, but this is where I'm at in my life, is like, I will sit myself down. Rest off times, especially when we're looking at in anything, rest and stillness is going to take you further than the actual activity. This is just a universal principle across all contexts, because sometimes you're so much in it that you're not paying attention to it. That's why you see people go to the gym 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week and 2, 3, 4, 5 years straight, and they still look the same. They've never changed. And they're going. And I had this realization maybe about 4 or 5 years ago when I was going to LA Fitness, where we had that same thing. I was going 8 days a week. And I would see the same thing. And these people were working out, right? Like these guys, these young women and men, like they weren't coming in there not lifting, but they never saw the change. And every time I would ask them, like, so what, what's your goal, or what are you trying to do? And they'll say, well, I got to cut down this fat. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you're here 3 to 4 years and that hasn't happened. You still look the same, right? So it's important for you there's other metrics that you got to pay attention to. And if you don't understand that, and you don't have and they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's a saying. And that's because you can, as much as a good intention as you have, if you don't really understand and you lack clarity on how and where you're going to get to that goal, then you can essentially just be going around in circles, right? Because you're basing what it is that you're attempting to do possibly on a model, and the model that you're basing it on is something that you don't even want. I think we had this conversation a couple of times on the show. So if you get to really kind of understand that, you start to get in alignment with yourself. Like the brother and I were talking before we got on the show, and I was just like, listen, I just go back to sleep. But I make the conscious decision, like, because I'm such an alignment, and I wouldn't even call it intuitive. I'm not going to call it intuitive because it's based on metrics. It's based on numbers. It's based on, I look at it. Okay, what did you do? Right? Like one of the newest goals, which I stopped doing for a while, but I'm back to it, is actually logging what it is that I eat. Right? Like actually taking the time to write it down, not say, I think I ate about this much. I do pumpkin seeds. I only had like 2 handfuls of pumpkin seeds. But then when you start looking at when you start logging it, you be like, oh yeah, I went back. Oh, I went back. So now when I look at it, and it's easy to do, check out ChatGPT. You can just put all this stuff in there, right? And take pictures of the calories, or you can get MyFitnessPal, which is easier. The Peter Drucker says what gets measured gets improved. So now it's less intuitive, and I'm an expert at this stuff, right? So I can easily go intuitively. However, even me knowing this and I track it, I can easily figure out why I'm tired, why my body's reacting a certain kind of way. If I should or should not go to the gym this morning, or wait a little bit longer, or get an extra hour of sleep, or extra 45 minutes of sleep. And once you gain the clarity of this, because you're tracking it and you're using these metrics, and you have your KPI, the correct KPIs, right? Like I'm really owning in on this, because I told you guys I was really deep into this working out stuff. So I don't care what nobody say, what they look in the gym. 9 times out of 10, people are on testosterone and on performance enhancing drugs, which I'm not saying is a negative thing, but it's not what I'm doing. So I can't really base what I look like based on what other people are doing, because I don't know what they're doing. If you look at the actual numbers you use, like a metric, if you're not tracking what your lean body muscle mass is, it doesn't even make any sense. If you're not tracking your body fat percentage, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're just doing things based on, I think I need to lose weight, or I think I need to do. If you're not getting your blood tested and figuring out where your hormones are, if you're not, if you're out of shape, or you feel bad, and so on and so forth, like, you're pushing yourself. You could be in the gym pushing yourself, and it could actually be working against you. I read about this guy, right? This guy does a lot of stuff based on people's cells, genetic cells. And if you have access to these tools, then that's awesome. You don't need it. But he was working with this Olympian, and this Olympian was getting negative results. And what they found out was it was based because his cells weren't able to take on oxygen based just upon his personal cells, right? And so once they did that, they got a chance to adjust it, and he started seeing improvements in his performance. So if you have access to these tools, and you're not using these tools for the access to it, and you're just doing it based upon what you think should happen, which most people work out based on pumping iron, Arnold's supposed workouts, then oftentimes you're not seeing any. I mean, you might be seeing some gains. I would admit that it's probably better than just sitting on the couch, but you're not optimizing what it is that you're doing. That's why whether you go to the gym, and absolutely, if you're not going to the gym, you start to see all of these negative effects just based on what you think, or not even what you think. Yeah, think, which is pretty much based on what you feel. So I would just say figure out a lot of these, start to measure these things, start to figure out and ask around. This is probably one of the best things in regards to guidance. It's interesting to me, the amount of information that we have, the amount of scholars that have come before us, and this isn't anything, that we continue to do things based on how we feel and then wonder why it is that we're still getting the results that we're getting. This is for those of us who claim to be growth minded. If you're just an average person, you probably haven't even made it this far in the conversation that I'm having. But us who claim to be growth minded, the amount of times that we speak and we perform based on how we feel versus seeking out, this is really what a person, especially at the beginning or at any stage, should be going to seek out people or actual information, because there's books galore, right? Almost everything that I'm saying is in a book, the majority of it. And then figuring out how do we see what it is, and then we make the adjustment based on ourselves. It used to boggle my mind. Now I'm just used to it, right? And that's why I use Community Beacon at the time, because people ask me questions. I say, go check out Community Beacon. Or did you watch Community Beacon last week? Did you? Because that's really me giving back to most people for whatever. And so it's good for us to say, listen, I feel this way, whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure why it is that I feel this way. Today, I may use discipline or willpower in order to power through it, but I really need to get to the deeper reason as to why it is. And then give yourself checkpoints, right? Like, it's okay to have a bad day every now and then. Like the brothers say, like, hey, today, this is not, one time the brother said, this is not like me, right? Like, and that's fine, because we have those days where we say, listen, this is just not like me. And you can have those. And this was interesting because me and Chris actually put this, it's almost like a checkpoint where we said, listen, I remember, I could never forget it. And we kind of made it as a rule. It's okay to have a bad day. But when you start to have 3 bad days in a row, I say, Chris, call me. He's like, yeah, he tell me, yeah, you call me too. Because on that 3rd day, because what happens is when we have these bad days, and this is how it just works, the bad days tend to make people go silent. Like, we get silent about it as if it's a shameful or guilty thing to have a certain bad day. So we'll have to, and next thing you know, it's been a week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks. Like the momentum starts to go, and we start to get, it starts to get rolling. So me and Chris used to say, yeah, if you're on that 3rd bad day, make sure you give me a call and to correct it. And this was 10 years ago, probably 2013, 2014 when we did that. And over time, you'll start to see all this stuff start to collapse. And then we put something else into it. We was like, okay, on that 3rd day, call me. And what you say is, these are the checkpoints. This is great about having people around you in your inner circle. And then when you have that 3rd bad day, call me and say, hey, I need 5 minutes. And this conversation now, even though we say we'll say, man, this is my 5 minutes. That's what we'll say. This is my 5. I'll call him, hey, this is my 5 minutes. It ends up being longer than 5 minutes because the 5 minute is us talking about the problem, which 9 times out of 10 is really just a symptom. And then we take after the symptom gets out, which is us exposing or expressing what it is that we feel, we start to say, okay, so what's the real problem? Right? Like even today we had a situation where he was like, hey, this is about 5 minutes. I'm like, go ahead. About, whoever, something, a person. Okay, cool. Well, what about that person is triggering you? because then we bring it back to ourselves. And I say, okay, so when I'm hearing you speak on this is what's coming up for me, right? Because this is what's coming up for me about this person, but it's really telling me about myself. Like, what about myself do I see in this person that's triggering me? Because if I didn't see it in me, then it wouldn't even come up on the radar. So we get a chance to actually break it down to the actual root, as opposed to the symptom of whatever it is. So, I said a lot. One thing to take from it is start to put in checkpoints of what it is, and don't allow this thing to, don't willpower and discipline. You could, let me say don't, but start to think of willpower and discipline, because you got it. Some more than us, because we have the capacity. We've built it up over time, right? We've built up a lot of willpower and discipline. I know I did. I remember, you talked to me about willpower and discipline. People thought I was in the military, the way I was so structured in my life, regardless of what was going on. Someone could have, it could have been the worst of the worst that Mike was still sticking to this willpower and discipline plan, which is good, naturally, because it's like I have it to use. But when we start to use it as a strategy and tactfully, like the brother did today, and then recognize it, and then observe ourselves in it, and then inform other people about it. I'm like we got on the phone earlier. I'm powering through this thing. All right, cool. Right? Let's do that. But just like I told Chris and the brother got to know, I hope he does anyways, Joe, is that on that third day, reach out and say, listen, I got 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes, Mike. Okay, let's have that conversation. That's now that, even tying into that inner circle thing, that's super important to have these people in your inner circle, intentional, empowering, able to walk you through some things and allow you to be vulnerable in that moment, right? Because we all have those moments. We're not here to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Man, that's good. That's good. I think it's super powerful. The whole everything. Starting off with the conversation between you and Chris, and I mean that's really what having a support system is supposed to be like. I think, all of these things are tools. All of them, to me, they're all tools. Whether it's the willpower or the discipline, those are tools. Whether it's calling up someone in your inner circle, it's a tool. Whether it's just going to a place for silence, it's a tool. And I know for different people, they got a saying. It's a saying, different strokes for different folks, right? And so it's a saying because it works. There have been times for me, myself, Mike, where it's like, okay, today we go to the beach. That's it. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to watch the sunrise. And I'm going to sit there and lay there as long as I need to. However long that takes. I ain't getting up. And I recall having a conversation with somebody who was like going through it and just sharing with them, you can always find your happy place and you can allow yourself room to breathe there. I recall sharing with somebody else a scream, as crazy as it may sound, sometimes just rolling down the street or while you're in your house by yourself, you just let it out. Just let it out. It's energy. There's pent up energy sometimes inside of your body, and it needs a place to go. And when you don't allow it to go somewhere, it gets lodged somewhere, right? And get caught up in different places. It's like energy flows. And so when it begins to flows, for instance, in a car accident, we've noticed and studies have proven in a car accident that a lot of times drunk drivers will survive. Sober drivers will not. And the studies have shown, like you can check the body, the blood, the troponins, and you can find that there was stress inside of the troponins of the sober driver. And in the drunk driver, there was none. The heart suffered no stress. And it's because the drunk driver was unaware of the true danger, while the sober driver was very aware and fearful. And because of that, they locked their body up to prevent something that was possibly unpreventable. And because of that, you have broken joints because the energy moves. And in those places that you have locked down, the energy is flowing through. It hits a joint and it'll snap the joint because it doesn't have a clean way to move through the body. Whereas in the drunk driver, because their body is just like all the other pieces that are floating around in the car. I don't know if you ever looked inside of a car after an accident. There's stuff everywhere, but a lot of times, a lot of stuff is not even broken. It was sitting on a seat. I'm not saying that would happen. It will work the same way out for a body, but there's many things that they're not even broken. And I've been in lots of car accidents and just been like, whoa, look at that cell phone. The purse is still here. The wallet is still here. What happened inside the car? I don't know. But a lot of things, they're not broke. Bottles. It's just crazy, the type of stuff that you'll look inside of a car and be like, it's not broken. And so when it comes down to the stress, there's an energy behind this stress. And when it enters into your body, the greatest thing that we can do is learn how to allow it to move through us, to release it as soon as possible. And so all of these things are tools. I see them as tools. And, I absolutely love that. And the thing that I've learned with it is that, like, what you and Chris are doing, I haven't always shared all of my innermost things. That's something that I learned how to do in the last decade or so, learn how to really share my innermost things that are going on, because I learned that identifying what it is that has caused me to feel the way that I'm feeling has given me power over whatever it is. Now, there was a point in time when I could identify it, but I didn't know how to solve it. So I did have to do research, and I had to talk with people, and I had to try some different things, and I don't know if this is a like comparison, and you can tell me, for the way that you view like discipline. But for me, when I figured out what it was, then I began to navigate myself. So first, I took this huge solution base. Let's talk about being tired, because that's an easy one for me to narrate. So super, super tired, headache, feeling like I want to vomit, right? Okay, this thing has got me laid out, like you mentioned earlier. If you don't sit down, God is going to sit you down, and you may not be able to get back up right away. So I started to recognize these things. Every time it came around, I'm out 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours. I'm sick, What did I do wrong? Water, food, rest. I started with those 3 things, and I found that when I fixed one and that didn't work, I fixed the second one, that didn't work. By the time I fixed the third one, I felt better. So that was my first realization that I possibly have a tool to fix this. It's because of one of those things. And so that's one example. And then Mike, you and I have been discussing depression over the course of these last 5 years. And I've shared with however many people have listened to these things about how I got to the crux of, is it even really depression? Because I've found over the course of these 5 years that there was some other things going on. Like in many cases, God was trying to show me something, and I was just making myself too busy to actually pay attention to what he was saying. When I actually just sat down and started to talk to the Lord, ideas would come to my mind, people would come to my thought, I would call them, and my answer was taken care of immediately. I just needed to receive some type of information. I need to go somewhere and to off gas. And so like those things now for me, they're not something that is a challenge to me. So I know that I do them, but it's not like, this is what I meant by, it's not like me having to discipline myself to do it. And I don't know if the best way of saying that is I'm already disciplined. Like I just know it. So I just do it. It's a part of life for me. But I recognize that originally it was a tool that I became aware of, learned how to use. Then I put it into use. I practiced it until my practice became a daily habit or a daily way of doing life. And now at this point in time, the only time I really even think about it is when I skipped a step. And I have to go back and say, oh yeah, that's right. That's what I normally do when this happens.
I love it. We have these tools, brother. So when the biological component of what's going on, and this is something that we can, I don't want, nowadays it's getting a lot easier, right? So the water, which is, I started saying like, now, when we start talking about people's food and the things that they're putting into their body, when you talk about it to people, it's almost sacrilegious. People get upset about this stuff. But I'm explaining to them that a lot of our issues tend to be largely biological and environmental. We eat a certain kind of way, we've used so being able to actually observe it, right? And I'm not telling people to change what it is that you do. Eat whatever you want to eat, right? I would say that if we're saying that we're growth minded, to take these things into consideration, hydration is important. You mentioned that. You said water, food, and something else. You mentioned rest.
Sleep.
Was that what it was?
Yep,
water, food,
rest.
and rest. I can't hear. Yeah, sleep. Okay. So water, food, and rest. If you just take that in itself is going to give you a lot of information as to why you're not doing it. And if that doesn't work, then you go through the process. And I'm agreeing with you as well as far as discipline and willpower. Like they aren't negative things. Anytime you're going to go outside of your quote unquote comfort zone, out of being, doing things differently, you kind of gotta, it's gonna take a different kind of energy. So sometimes, so at that point in time, like you mentioned, you recruit these tools. Just it's all, discipline and willpower is almost like love to me. It just exists.
Yeah.
It's just a part of life. It just exists. And what happens is that people say something to us, right? Where it's like, oh, you just not like, it's like me telling Elijah, you just not disciplined, right? When my discipline was cultivated by my environment. I had to be disciplined, right? It's a different kind of way. Like I didn't have, like say going to school, right? I had to show up at that bus stop at X amount of time, right? Or getting up at a certain time and getting ready for school, or my mother would just be in my ear, she'd just be, you late. I just knew up. So it was just like, it was cultivated. I didn't even do it on purpose. It was a product of the environment. So then as I got older, it just became a part of the process. And people look at you, how did you why are you so disciplined and willpower? Listen, I had to, right? Like that was a part of my survival tactics and strategy as a young kid, right? I need to be on point because I don't want my mother to be yelling at me when I get to school and so on and so forth. Well, Elijah's coming through with a different environment. He gets to see it, right? So he knows that he can access it, right? Because he sees me do it, but it doesn't depend on, in his mind, his survival. His environment is different, but it's there because when he needs to do it in his mind, whatever that is, maybe it's to impress a friend, maybe it's to whatever, it's in there. Like I said, I spoke about it last week. I'm so proud of him, of how he gets ready to go to school in the morning, right? Because when he's here, it's that way. But when he goes to his mother's house, maybe it's different. Maybe he's used to her nurturing him more. I'm not saying that's what she does. I'm just saying it might be a different situation. But he knows that he's capable, right? So all it takes is for us to be aware of it, and we can use it.
Let me jump in there about
here's a
love
question
before you go to that next part, because I thought that was just so good when you compare love to willpower and discipline. And it's like, I know I have my belief, and maybe yours also, is like God is the ultimate. God is love. That's my belief. But like when you mention love as like a tool, it's like that is so true. It's like you can apply love. You can literally apply love, just like somebody is going to force their way through a door. You can apply love through a door. You can surgically utilize love to manifest things. And it's like, and I'm not talking about a false sense of it or using it for the wrong purposes. It would work against the word in itself. But it's like when you think about love and you have a scenario that you're going through, you can actually lean into the love side. You can just choose to say, whatever your belief on what love looks like, that's what I'm going to do in this scenario instead of something else. And it's like that. It's a crazy thought, maybe to some, but it is one of the major things that I have used to develop my relationships with my children on a high level. Is when I thought I was going to, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that last time, and I'll go in and I might even come to that door like, boom, Kool-Aid Man is here. And the first thing I'll do before I get any thought out of my mind is, what do you got going on? And the minute they say something, I say, all right. And I just move with love. I change the whole atmosphere. I mean, my kids, sometimes they think I'm crazy. But then we go down the route of love, and the relationship is huge now. Relationship is huge. So I just had to mention that, man, because I don't want someone to brush off what you said, because you said it and then you went to the next thing. But I'm like, yo, people don't realize that love is a tool that they should be using inside of their life, just like empathy or compassion. These are tools that they should be using. I digress.
No, it's good. It's good. The love to me is a frequency. So it's there, and either you're on the frequency of it, or and you get to tap into it rather, right? So it's like you tap into the frequency of love, and it covers all things. And it's not love in the way this romantic love, like how we think, oh, it's just all dandelions, because love also, there's correction in love, right? But and then you get a chance, because we talk about this often, and I think it's an important thing, and I talk to Chris about it a lot, is this our lazy way of being, if I'm being direct and blunt.
It is.
It's our lazy way of being, because even though you bust through the door, right? Like, we grew up in the old school, so you're getting whooped. Right? Like I was getting whooped. It is what I got whooped.
It is what it is.
There was, but it's a correction, right? Hopefully for most of us. Some of us, it may not necessarily be that, but I would hope that you were loved in your household. And so it also has correction to it. And this is how a lot of us were taught. A lot of us are punished similar to the way, just based on the culture, right, of slavery, so on and so forth. Because the further back you go, oftentimes the worse it seemed like it was, right? And so you get to, oftentimes it's the grandparents who are telling their kids, hey, listen, you're being too tough. And you're looking back like, man, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But there's definitely correction attached to love. So anyone who takes the time out to correct you. Now, how we express that, the tool empathetically, right? To gain an understanding. What the brother said, listen to what he said in this conversation with his kids. I came through and I say, what do you have going on? What is that? What is he doing? He's gaining. I need to get some understanding first, right? I'm asking you what you got going on, because in my mind, you're crazy for whatever it was that you did, especially if you knew, or you should know, the expectations of it. But what do you have going on? What made you, what allowed this behavior to happen? Which is really the next point I was going into when we're talking about tired, right? And being empathetic with yourself and choosing and figuring out what tool it is you decide to move forward, whether it's discipline and willpower, because in my mind, I have to get this thing done, or if it's rest or stillness or whatever it is. The empathy is like, what do you have going on? The question I would ask, to be specific, is what is making you tired? Are you're not 90 years old or whatever it is. Were you outside in the sun? Was it beating down on you? Oftentimes that's not the case. That's why people used to ask me, like, how was your day? I always say, well, I wasn't on no roof in the sun, so I'm good. You know what I mean? And that was a way that I used to check myself, was like, were you on a roof in the sun? Were you like moving tile? Like, that makes you physically tired, right? But harder to get to is, why are you mentally tired, right? And for today, not yesterday, I used to say, not yet, for today, are you at your capacity, and have you pushed a little bit past it, right? Okay, so what is that about? Because if you start to go through this process, right, and this is starting to be my super process, I start to go through this process, then a lot of these outside forces that are talking about this shame, this guilt, that make me want to discipline the willpower, and knowing that it's going to be okay tomorrow, because all things work together for the good. So if I can get past it, like, what is this about, right? Why? What makes you tired? No one asks why. Chris Voss will tell you don't ask why, because it makes you, it's almost like singling you out. But what made you tired? Now we can start going through these processes. Oh, is it the food? Is it this? Maybe I do need to check out my blood test, go check it done. Or did you do something the day before that you should be tired today? If you come into the gym with me and it's leg day, right? Let's say it's leg day. I remember me and my brother did it the other about 2 weeks ago. Me and Mark went into the gym, right? And he's telling me about and I said, okay, let's get in there. So now he's pushing me and I'm pushing him. The next day, it might make sense for you not to do anything, even though 6 months prior or whatever it was, 3, 4, 5 months prior, you were doing leg day and you were able to go in the next day and do chest day, right? Now, because of what you did the day before, you can go in today and say, listen, and start thinking about your CNS, your central nervous system, because you're frying that if you go in there and try to do something else. Now, the next day, I'm going to make the adjustment. Okay, this chest day, I'm really just going to be focusing on certain things. I might, or it might end up being more of a, I'm stretching. I need to stretch today. I mean, I could probably push through it, because if I take 2 scoops of pre-workout, I guarantee you, I'll be able to go in the gym. Yeah, if you take, this is what we could do if we want to incorporate discipline and willpower, right?
Yeah,
we could take an extra scoop.
I'm with you. I'm messing a little bit, but I'm like, yo, man,
so we could ready to go. So we could do that, right? That absolutely we could push through it, but then next week, you're going to be trying to figure out, like, why is my sleep schedule off? Why is my body not reacting the way it's supposed to be?
Right.
And then next week, you might be not able to go to the gym.
Right.
Or you might hurt yourself and you're like, how did I hurt myself on this lift? I normally lift 200 to 225 to be correct for most people. I was lifting 225. Man, and I only got up to 160 and I hurt myself, right? Because now you're pushing through it. But so now this is just a systematic way of moving, of figuring out, and this is the lot, and this is a systematic way of getting to the crux of the issue. Like, what is really going on? Mm-hmm. Brother, you said something that was interesting. You said, you were wondering, you were not paying attention to what God was attempting to show you. And then once you got still, these things came to your mind and you were able to make the phone call and get the information you needed, almost to understand what was going on, right? Like, you weren't pushing through it. You got that. You were able to, when you sat still, or whenever you were sitting still, you were able to get the information in order for you to figure out what the next step was, whatever it was being revealed to you, right? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes what we do, and this is a powerful moment, and once especially us as men, because we're learning how, it's interesting, we're learning how to express these things that are going on without just like I'm not just pushing it down anymore. I'm able to, I need to let this thing flow, right? I gotta unstuck myself. I gotta unstuck myself. So now we get a chance to, I love this, someone was saying, I forget who it was, I get to actually observe and not imagine the situation. Because oftentimes what happens is we tend to imagine the things based upon, because we're told certain things, right? We've been brought up a way to, or we've only accepted certain things as far as imagining it. But once we start to observe it, and because the signals are coming, I'm a full believer of, the Most High has given us all the tools, and we just get it, or is on a frequency. We get to access these things and use it for us to a healthy way. We start to observe it. We start to say, oh, okay, I didn't know I could call Joe. Right? I didn't know I could call Joe, or, because if we haven't done it before, I didn't know if I could. And guess what? This is also increasing your capacity. right? Because when one and one come together, oftentimes it shouldn't make two. To me, it does make two anyways. It should be exponential. I get to access Joel for his information and his experience and his I have that ability to do it. Joel didn't just come into my life. Like a lot of the ways that it happened, it was an intentional way of us wanting to be growth. Like we were searching for information, I would imagine. I know I was at the time when I met Joel. I was searching for information, right? And then so me being intentional about the search led to this, led to that, and boom, next thing you know, here's this guy walking through the door. You know what I mean? and we're having conversations. So it was this intentional way. And then for us to say, okay, now that it's there, for us to utilize it. I think as leaders, one of the things that lead to regret or I don't want to say conflict, but that lead to frustration will be the word, is not knowing or understanding or even not wanting to or understanding how to utilize the tools that we have around us, right? Like not being able to, and resources rather, not utilizing the resources that we have around us. Because here are these, Joel, a brilliant mind. And if I'm just stuck in a place where I don't understand or know how to utilize it correctly because I don't want to get out of my comfort with it or even ask him or be vulnerable, which is also another tool is vulnerability. Being vulnerable, almost would call it a superpower. I don't want to be vulnerable in a certain kind of way. And then oftentimes like even knowing this person can, has the know-how. Like, and so to reach out, and because I may be scared of this person saying no, or there's certain expectations surrounding it, or I'm looking at my value. Well, if I don't add value to this thing, then I'm not going to ask this person, which is something that we get a chance to take a look at. Like you just being born, you have value, right? If you really look at it, no baby is walking around like, I don't got no value. Like this is a learned thing that we got coming up. Like we learn about this stuff, right? This is a part of the narrative. Like you gotta, and I know some people will get mad. You gotta provide. Do you? Like you don't have value otherwise, right? You can't think. You can't just. Your presence is not of value. I think it is, brothers. I think your presence is value. Just because I don't know how to extract it, that doesn't make you not valuable. Mm-hmm. So really the fault is not in you if I don't find you valuable. The fault is in me. Because then now if you're a mirror of me, now I'm thinking that I'm not you. If you really look at it, there's something about me that may have a feeling about value. Value comes into question. Because you just being there. The brother said, and I'm going back to the story, somebody just walked into the gym, gave him a smile, and just said, I got two, I'm popping bottles. And it was enough for him to give him the extra oomph and even just empowered him to continue and move through this workout. That's value. That person is valuable. Joel was able to extract just from that encounter, was able to extract it. You got value. Do not have other people or ideals or thoughts place this value on you, right? That's how I feel. I tell people all the time, I say, listen, if I'm in the building, value is being provided. I might just give you a smile, right? I might just give you a wink. I might just say, you got this. In my mind, that's worth thousands of dollars. If we're going to equate value to money. Just my presence alone, I know I don't have to say nothing to Elijah. I could be in a room and I'm providing value. My presence, just being there, provides value. Now, when I get to this mouthpiece, get to talking, and we get to breaking down like little concepts that we break down, or he tells me something about his friends, and I'm explaining to him stuff. Like and I tell him all the time, I say, but you know how special you are to have me around. You know how privileged you are to be able to have this conversation with your father. I say, yeah. Right now, you're not giving me my props, but when it's time for me to go, if that's how the Lord wants it to be, you're gonna be like, man, my father used to give me a lot of information. That's how I think of myself, right? And a lot of this starts at home. Start instilling this within your kids. Definitely the boys. The boys need it, right? You start instilling that, like you just being around, because they provide value to me. When you spoke about, what came to mind when you said you bust into the room and then you get a chance to access love as a tool. Mm-hmm. I say Paul does that to me all the time, right? Like I'm frustrated. I may be frustrated, and 9 times out of 10 it's not with him, right? Because he's just a kid, he's just a baby. He's I'm sorry, he's a big boy, excuse me. But he'll do something, and he knows what he's doing is probably something that he may not need to be doing, and he'll look at me and he'll use that as a tool, right? Yes or no, Dad? Was that okay? Yes or no? Like he'll do something where he knows he's going to, to me anyways, I'm seeing he's accessing love in order for this energy to change, for my energy to change. And guess what? It does, right? Just like a baby, when the baby is crying and you frustrated, like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to get some sleep. And then you go and look at that baby, and that baby might just look at you with the eyes and may give like a laugh or whatever it is. And even though it done diarrhea all over the place, you got to change the diapers. You're like, you do it, right? Because you're just accessing love. This is something I get to do, as well as responsibility and et cetera. But this is the value, the presence that you provide, and we get a chance to instill that with others, man, from our perspective.
Yeah, the value of the human.
Yeah,
just being humanity. It gets lost in the shuffle. It sure does. Or a price tag gets put on it. Yeah.
That when people ask about, because it's capital. Well, I hate to talk about negative about capitalism. I hate to do it because I'm a big fan of free market trade. I'm huge on it, right? I'm definitely not a communist in any. I don't think so, anyways. Extreme communism or that ideology. I wouldn't even call myself a socialist, right? But one of the things is this extreme capitalism, which, because we're given these ideals, and it's really based on a model that we're not, most of us haven't taken the time to really look into, right? We started to value we don't even value resources. We value lifestyle and money, like the actual paper. Like I give somebody $200 in their mind today. I give you $200 in this paper currency, and it may change the way that you feel about yourself. Right. Or I give you a certain lifestyle for a little bit, which is what they do. You'll see people, oh, I'm in Dubai, or, and I'm not saying that you don't go explore and see the world, but when it makes you feel as if you're better than somebody else because you were able to do this, that's where the rub comes along. So now we did that, and it started small. And then all of a sudden it became transactional. I think relationships are transactional, right? Marriage is definitely a business because you're signing a contract, but relationships are transactional. But when the transaction is based on money and lifestyle within itself, then there's an issue. Like when it's just like solely money, like when someone's telling you, oh, this person needs to make $100,000. Right, this person's worth is based on this money. And then we understand that money, there's inflation involved, right? Like because the 100,000 isn't worth today what it was worth 10 years ago. When we start to actually like we went to the actual money, then there's an issue, right? Because what about everything else?
Didn't Eddie Murphy? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that not new Eddie Murphy, old Eddie Murphy. Didn't he? Whenever he got with a woman, they had to like sign a contract that stated that they would remain a certain size and shape. Gosh, man, I gotta look that up. I'm telling you, man, I want to say that I read that.
Eddie? Yeah, you look it up. If Eddie has like what? Eddie's man. I was talking about Eddie today, Eddie Murphy, man, and some of the stuff Harlem Nights, with him and Richard Pryor. I still think Richard Pryor is the best stand-up comic. I mean, he introduced everything.
Oh my God, he shot my pinky toe. God, I love that movie.
It gave a certain kind of class to a certain element, right? Like, you know, it was like a classy kind of Hoodlum. Lawrence Fishburne did well in Hoodlum as well. But Eddie Murphy introduced a lot of different concepts. We're talking about Coming to America, Harlem Nights, Beverly Hills Cop. Like these type of those movies like introduced a different kind of dynamic. Yeah. Was it him? I know you were looking it up. Yeah. I know Martin said that. Martin said made a joke about something similar to that, where it's like you got to be. When they were writing their vows, he was like, Martin has the weight that she has to be, and he was like, yeah, because I don't want to get married and she just blows up, Rev.
Yeah, so the check, it comes back and says that there's no credible evidence. So no. Fact check says no.
There was as a divorce lawyer. What's his name? He's pretty popular. He was on Soft White Underbelly. If anybody gets a chance to, James Sexton, that's his name. And he said he wrote up a prenup where they did have that in the prenup, where if she goes above a certain kind, he said this was one of the most extreme ones, anyways. But if she goes above a certain kind of weight, it reduces the amount that she would get if they were ever to get a divorce. And I thought of course, like I said, it was extreme, but I'm like, that's insane. I'd love to see them defend that in court, because how do you defend that? Like all of a sudden you got to bring in a weight scale during the mediation or proceedings, and this person has to get on it. But that might be the opposite with that's a whole different conversation. That might be the opposite. I once we get into a certain kind of aesthetic, because I do believe people should be in shape. But I think that starts from the head, right? If you, this is Mike's opinion. This is Mike's opinion only, right? If you like a certain kind of, if health is an issue or a thought of yours, if you're not leading health in the household, then I don't understand, how you could expect it from somebody else to do it, right? Like you should be getting up and walking with this person. Hey, anybody in a relationship with me know we are going to the gym, right? We're gonna at the least we'll walk, or we're gonna be asking questions. But for most people, if that's something for you, you definitely need to. That's part of the due diligence period to ask that question, like, hey, how into health are you? So on and so forth. But it's super important to me. I'm not saying that we need to be, 15, 16% body fat, but we definitely need to care about health, because I definitely want you to live long, without, if it could be helped. So yeah, I can shout on me if you want to, but we definitely we're down a slippery slope in regards to health in America, right? I think 70-80% of our women are obese, and so that deserves taking a look at, especially in the environment that we're in. All right. What else, brother? I think it was time well spent. I thought we were going to do 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's all right. We had something to talk about. But hey, man, for all y'all out there, if you have something that you want to discuss, please DM Mike or me. We got so many different channels up here that this is broadcasting in. So please, somewhere along the way, or if you see us in the streets, say, hey, y'all want to talk about this again? Because it's probably going to be an again. We've talked about lots of things. All right. That's all I got.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Listen, if you go back and look through this episode and because a lot of stuff that we spoke about didn't just happen overnight, right? I don't want to be sitting here having this conversation with someone and not be empathetic or sympathetic to your plight. There was a time when a lot of us were like, we didn't have the information. We didn't know, right? Right. So we got a chance to look at it, to develop processes. And over time, especially when it's you get around the right people, you start to practice it, you start to put it in place. A lot of this stuff it just becomes a part of your process, right? To get to where you are. And but you need to be intentional about it. So when the brother says to DM him and he's offering a mentorship or guidance, so on and so forth, have the conversation. And the first time, I know I have conversations with people, and the first time they say, man, Mike is a nut. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way, right? Because this is brand new information. I'm sure it was the same for me. Like, you telling me I can't eat this? I remember the first time I saw how much Chick-fil-A, the calories were in Chick-fil-A, and I'm used to eating it all the time. Like, oh, this is crazy. Right, like this is 2,000 calories and it's only one meal and I'm still hungry. I'm just using that as an example. It's different, but as the Mandalorian says, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. All right. Other than that, man, love you guys. Reach out.
Take care.
Reach out or go back and listen to a lot of these different series, right? We're just not talking just for the sake of talking. I know I'm not. I know the brother's not, right? This is experience and growth, and we get a chance to be joyful and loving, and our families are changing and our businesses are changing. Which our lives are changing. Like, that's an awesome thing to behold, especially if you feel stuck. This is how you get unstuck. I saw a book, Get Unstuck. This is how you get unstuck, right? Peace.
Hey, you know what? Just one last little bit. You just reminded me of something when you mentioned that. What was it, 12 years ago we met? Something like
2011 was the yeah, about 2011. It's more than 12 years.
14 years. 14 years ago, who would have ever thought that these are the seats we'd be in? It's like that. That's the power of a developing relationship and a growth mindset. I didn't see this. But now we plan stuff. We're planning stuff moving forward. So give it another 10 years. All right, that's it. That's officially it.
God willing that the creek don't rise. Peace, y'all.
All right.